Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our special birthday celebration for Dr. Sunday Adelaja. He's going to be turning 54 in a couple of days. And this whole week, we've been having a lot of guests coming in here to tell us about their experience with Dr. Sunday Adelaja. Many of the people who we've had have known him for a minimum of 10 years. We have a special guest coming to us all the way from Canada who has known DSA for at least 15 years, and he has such a unique testimony and a unique story to tell of his experience with Dr. Sunday, how it has influenced his life, his family, his ministry. He's going to be telling us of who the man Dr. Sunday is, who many people don't see on the outside. Most people just get to know Pastor Sunday online through his messages, his books, his articles, but the person who's going to be talking to us today knows him personally. He's a spiritual son, and he would be giving us the inside scoop on who Dr. Sunday is and how we can learn from some of the qualities that Dr. Sunday has to apply to our lives so that we also can become history makers, we can become celebrated people, and we can become people who God has created us to be, fulfilling our purpose here in this world. I'm Joshua Amatare coming to you live from Kyiv. Please share this link with your friends, share it on your wall. We're live on YouTube and on Facebook, and we're doing that so that you have a couple of options in a way that you can watch us. So please share this on your Facebook pages. If you want to watch us on YouTube, you can do that as well. And those of you who want to wish Dr. Sunday a happy birthday, and you're saying, oh, when am I going to get to come on the show? You can have your own show, make a video, and send it to moveagents@gmail.com. moveagents@gmail.com. It's below on your screen. You can make a video, you can write a letter, you can make cards, whatever it is that has been laid on your heart or that you feel is best, you can send it to that email address, and DSA would be happy to receive it and respond to you in due time. We're celebrating his life, we're celebrating his accomplishments, we're celebrating the fact that God has given us the gift of such a special man that has poured us into greatness, that has taught us, that has led us, and we believe that things will only get better from here on out. So, one more time, please share this link, write a comment, and we're happy that you're here with us. Without much further ado, please welcome with me, all the way from Canada, Pastor Derek Schneider. Hello, sir. Welcome back to the show.
So good to be here, Joshua. It's the next time what did you say? The last time we saw each other was last birthday. So this is a double honor. This is a great honor to be here.
That's true. It's good having you here with us. Congratulations on becoming a father.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very fulfilled. My wife and I, we are so happy. Wow. And I'm finally able to live out some of the things I've learned from Dr. Sunday's YouTube channel on parenting.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're a very practical person. So I'm happy that you were able to make use of those resources, and you'll be talking to us about some of them. I want you to talk to us today about Dr. Sunday, the leader, Dr. Sunday, the pastor, Dr. Sunday, the man. You know, these are all different facets of life that you have learned from, that you've gotten to experience yourself. So I would like you to share those with us as and the audience, so that we can understand who Dr. Sunday really is behind the scenes and what makes him the way he is. A lot of people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. They only just see the man, and some of them believe it's the anointing. Some of them just say, oh, it's his personality. They don't understand the work and the struggles that he goes through behind the scenes, which you are privy to. So we'll be looking forward to you telling us some of that. But first of all, I believe you told us last year a little bit of how you met Dr. Sunday. But once again, please tell us the story of your first encounter with Pastor Sunday Adelaja.
Well, my first encounter with Pastor Sunday, I call him Pastor Sunday. If I refer to him that way, that's just how I refer to Pastor Sunday still. As much as I respect him as Dr. Sunday Adelaja. I met him in Amsterdam during a conference. My father was preaching at this conference, and Pastor Sunday was the other speaker. And I had heard about this wild Nigerian that was turning Europe upside down. I didn't even hear Ukraine mentioned. I just heard turning Europe upside down, and it was the book of Acts come to life. And so through much struggle, I made it to that conference. I write about this in my book, Beyond the Four Walls.
All
It's
right.
available on Amazon. It's really the full story of walking with Pastor Sunday and how this movement impacted myself and really now the nations of the world. But through much struggle and warfare, I barely made it to that conference. And the warfare and peculiar things that took place to stop me from getting there was so bizarre. Even people that worked at the airport asked my dad and I, "Who are you guys? Like, like
Wow.
what is this?" And my dad turned to me at one point and he said, "Derek, I think you're to receive something at this conference." And we joined hands. This is as good as it sounds. And we prayed together and we had breakthrough, made it onto the plane. And there I was hearing this man the first night of the conference. And keep in mind, I'm fourth generation pastor,
Wow.
believer on both sides of my family. So I've been around ministry. And that night when he preached, I felt like I heard the gospel for the first time. And
Okay.
I didn't realize that much of what I had heard all my life was preaching. It was the gospel. I was born again, but I had never heard the gospel of the kingdom
Mm.
in such a way as I did that one night. The second night of that conference, I found myself weeping during the message from start to finish, and I didn't know why. The last time I had experienced something like that might have been my salvation experience. And this man is preaching, Pastor Sunday's preaching, and I find myself in tears.
Mm.
And at the end of his message, I want to ask this guy to pray for me. But I didn't want to be the guy at the conference that's chasing down the man of God at the altar and all this. So I tried to hold back. And to this day, I think somebody thrust me out of my chair. I don't know what it
Okay.
was, but I came up out of my chair, found my way over to him, and he was reachable, by the way. He wasn't the man of God at the conference that can't be touched, can't be reached. And that's one of the fundamental attributes of Pastor Sunday that makes him so special.
Mm.
Not even so unique, but so special, was his dedication to being approachable and reached by average people.
Mm.
And to this day, I think, imagine if he wasn't approachable. He may have never laid hands on me as he did at that conference.
Mm.
I may not have received the impartation that I carry to this day,
Mm.
and the nations might not be being touched in the way they are, simply because he was approachable.
Mm.
So I approached him, and he would have seen this tear-stained face of this young Canadian in baggy clothes. I had just left the hip hop world,
Mm.
the music industry.
Yeah.
And all I said was, "Pastor, we need this in Canada.
Mm.
Would you pray for me?" And he walked away, and I thought, there it is. I've offended the man of God. He doesn't think anything of me. But he was walking away so that he could put his drink down to give me his full attention.
Mm.
And if he's going to pray for me, he's going to really pray.
Mm.
None of this coffee in one hand and, some kind of,
Wishy-washy kind of prayer.
yeah, like, let me get this out of the way on my way to the green room, right?
Mm.
And so he lays hands on me. And I had never been prayed for like this. It
Mm.
was loud. It was violent. The Dutch to this day still talk about it like seeing two drunk men fighting.
Wow. What an expression.
Because when he laid hands on me, it was like voltage went through my body, and I experienced some real Holy Spirit manifestation in my body.
Wow.
And then he pulled me up against him in almost like a bear hug, and he shouted, "God, give him what I've got."
Mm.
And it was almost like he, by the Spirit, discerned my hunger was genuine.
Mm.
And all I know is when he let go, I hit the floor. And it was like an open heaven was over me, and I spoke with God like a man speaks to a man. And it was short.
Wow.
And in the midst of, I've never actually told the full details of this until right now, this part, but
Wow.
I'm speaking to God about something. All of this is happening in seconds. And it was as dramatic as it sounds. I'm speaking to God this way, and at the same time, I'm hearing Pastor Sunday prophesying over me. You will be as John the Baptist in North America, which absolutely has begun now to this day. So I'm hearing two things at the same time. My mind is blown. I lay there on the floor for however long. By the time I get up, I have to practically be carried to the cottage. And when I came home from that experience, I was hired on staff at a church, and a 7 to 8 year revival breaks out.
Wow.
And the rest is history. So that was my first meeting. My first meeting was shocked that he talked to me, and then that when I emailed him, he emailed me back. There
Wow.
are signs and wonders that follow Pastor Sunday, and one of them is that he gets back to you.
He
and
responds.
he responds, and he wrote back. He replied to my email. And, you know, I almost feel some emotions talking about this right now, because I haven't talked about this in a long time, but I took that email, like I picked up the laptop. It was a laptop back then. And I beelined it straight to my dad's office to show Dad that this man wrote me back. And that turned into him offering to mentor me, ongoing relationship, flying to Ukraine. It turned into all that it is now. But it really makes you, I would like it to touch some pastors' hearts out there who might be watching, that you really, we including myself, okay, we need to get better at how we look at people and our grid for who gets our time and who gets our energy. Most pastors and leaders are trying to build ministries. Pastor Sunday was trying to build people. And he saw me as somebody he could build. He's a people builder. That's why he's not restricted to any form or model of ministry. No matter what you do to him, no matter what you try to take away from him, he will always be somewhere surrounded by people, building people, and expanding the kingdom.
That's incredible, because like you said, most pastors, their ultimate ambition is to build a ministry. It's like it comes with the calling. Once you're called to be a pastor, the next thing that follows is, how do I become, you know, a mega church pastor? Or how do I build this auditorium? How do I get the speakers in here? Or how do I get the pews and, and the decorations and what have you?
And the people is what you build. You build on the backs of the people, your ministry.
True.
That's what the people are for, is for me to build my ministry on their back, to build a tower that reaches to the sky with me sitting on top of it. And Pastor Sunday was the total opposite. Whether it was a walk outside with him, I still couldn't believe that after all he had been through, how busy he is, everything that goes on in his life, the attention he gave to the person taking out the trash. Like those moments where you're witnessing greatness or a person of value. And it's unlike anything you see in other people. You know, you're with a male version of Mother Teresa or something, like a person of greatness. Wow. You know, you're with a person of greatness. And watching him, how he related with this trash collector, and it was so stunning to me. I said to him, like, where does that come from? I didn't even notice that person was standing there. And he said, I know what it was like to be that person on the street, or the way he said it was to be passed by. So he said, I never want to be the one that passes by anyone. So getting back to that conference, he didn't pass me by. That's a manifestation of the personality of Jesus Christ. And before everybody gets all offended, like, we're supposed to imitate God, be imitators of God as beloved children. And I really saw that in him, that Jesus had a way of parting the crowd and making Zacchaeus feel important. He had a way of relating to the one that most people lose in big ministry. Pastor Sunday didn't lose that. His way of relating to the one, and eventually those ones all start to add up and you make history. You make history in people's lives.
Incredible. I like what you said about the fact that he dropped his bottle. I wanted to go back to that. And that's another character trait of Pastor Sunday. He doesn't do anything haphazardly. He always
Yeah.
goes all in, and that's the same attention he gave to, like you said, to the person who was taking out the trash. He always
Yeah.
wants to give his complete focus to whatever is right in front of him at the time. He doesn't
That's
like
right.
to do too many things at the same time. And even if he does that, when he focuses on you, you know he's listening, he's hearing you, and he really wants to communicate with you and help you through whatever it is you're going through. Or even just know you, just interact, just basic
Yeah.
interactions. And what you're saying is not even about the fact that he's a pastor, just as a man, he's treating other people as his equals, even if he knows that they are not his equal based on accomplishment. But he sees them through the eyes of God, I believe, that makes him to want to relate with people, despite their situation at the time and despite how the rest of the world might see them. He sees God in them, and he respects
Yeah.
and he honors that God in them. And that's the way they feel. I can assure you that each time he talks to you, you also feel the same way. You feel bigger than you felt before. You feel more confident.
Yeah.
You feel more passionate. You feel alive, you get.
It's
And
so
stuff like that.
true. It's so true. And I know you have a direction to take this broadcast, but that's what I didn't want him to lose in the journey of persecution.
Uh-huh.
That's what I didn't want him to lose in the fight. We're all human, and if you get beat up enough, you come to a crossroads, whether you want to or not, where you make a decision: am I still able to love people after all this has been done? And that was my whole thing. And how can we protect him or help to edify him throughout the struggle of life's up and downs and persecutions? And some in his team around him, I saw do that. They noticed this kind of thing. Like I remember when we were driving by car to I think it was the anniversary or a week before the anniversary. It was when I was living out there with him for those days in Ukraine. And there was the big billboard where he was on the billboard, and he'd be inviting people on the billboard to the event. And one morning when we went by it, somebody had taken, like, it was in the midst of all that nasty persecution, totally unwarranted, like wickedness. And somebody had sprayed like green paint, some atrocity right across the mural. And
So they defaced it with spray
yeah,
paint.
they defaced it. Yeah, they
Wow.
defaced it, and I remember that struck me. And because we want the glory of being persecuted, but when that stuff happens to you, it hits you, it touches you. And I remember, I think it was Ludmila, where I went to talk about that in a room with people and him there, and Ludmila kind of redirected the conversation so that I wouldn't say that in front of him. She did it in such a highly emotionally intelligent way, so classy. And I realized that these people love him and don't want him to, even though he might have shrugged that off or just said, hallelujah, they persecuted Jesus, they persecute me. And that might be where he really stood. But I think it's important that we measure out throughout the course of his life, at times, how to protect a man from that, because I never wanted him to lose that ability to love the one. And I know some things. I've been in the room where it's me, him, and Prophet Bob Jones, who's passed away now, who many would herald as one of the foremost prophets of our generation. Whatever you think of him, he's got a pretty good track record. But I was there in the room, and Bob Jones knew nothing. And we arranged a call just to see what God would say to Pastor Sunday in the midst of all the persecution. And I'll never forget when Bob Jones, he said it this way in his Arkansas accent. I won't give the accent, but he said, "You reached for a rose and you got stung by a thorn." You couldn't have, only God could paint the picture that well. You reached for a rose and you got hit by a thorn, and God wants you to reach again. And the essence of the message was some people on your team have betrayed you, and this has gone on. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to reach for the rose again. You're going to deal with it. And I saw the emotions on Pastor Sunday's face because God had clearly read the mail. Like this was
Yeah, because
early.
this man has never been to Ukraine and he was just
No,
talking
no,
based on the spirit.
no. He knew nothing, and things weren't in the news globally. This was some stuff that
That
nobody
was
would
local.
know. Yeah, this was some stuff that, and I'll never forget that. And I thought that's the Lord wanting Pastor Sunday to remain tenderhearted to these people who God sees as roses despite the thorns of ministry. Yeah. Well,
And what
you
has
got me
been your
going down a
experience?
track.
Has it been your experience that he maintained that love?
I'm sorry.
I said, what has been your experience since your concern? Has he maintained that love in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm still amazed when I reach out to him how he treats me. I haven't been there in a number of years, but I've seen him consistent the way I know him to be. Sometimes I'm amazed. I'll see people post letters, or he'll post a letter that someone has written him, and I see that this is somebody who Pastor Sunday took the time, made time for them, invested in them. And that's a person's glory. You know, we lead many sons to glory. It says, so let your light shine before men that they may see your good deeds, and give glory to God for that. So I believe he has been able to, but I'm sure he's had to make a conscious decision.
Effort.
I'm sure he has had highs and lows in that area, without a doubt.
Yeah, because of the level of betrayal and attacks that he has gotten. And if it was warranted, some people are like, well, I kind of deserve it. But he kind of gave his entire life, or he literally gave his life for these people, and then they turn against him and they do it in the worst and most vitriolic way. It's incredible to see.
Yeah. And your spirit can be willing, but your flesh is weak. So you can get burnt out. You can get tired, or you can get beat up to where the inner stuff that you've been taking all this time starts to express itself in your body. You're having body pain. You're having things you're having to work through to deal with all that's been thrown at you. And a lot of it is spiritual. I mean, word curses, stuff being said,
It's evil energy directed your way.
evil energy directed that way. Absolutely. And that you really only see guys on the level of like presidents that have the constitution to handle that. And I see something similar with Pastor Sunday. He's got the goods to handle that kind of life.
Incredible. I guess that's something that you've also learned. Hope you're ready for yours as John the Baptist, because not everybody was his friend. His head was chopped off. So hope you're ready. Hope you're ready for your own attacks over there in Canada, because I believe that that's something many people need to learn. When you're close to people who get those much attacks, you need to learn their coping mechanisms as well, because
Yeah.
there's a system to how they deal with those things, and it will help you, especially if you're aspiring to be on that level, and if God has called you to do things on that scale, that you also learn those things so that you're able to get through them when the time comes.
Well, that's things like Pastor Sunday's, specialty, the fasting retreats, the week-long retreat. You have to leave some margin for emotional coping with this. If you're all guns blazing all the time, ministry, you're just building this ministry, and you don't have time away with Jesus, you're an accident waiting to happen. You're an accident because you're not that good to keep that up. And so you have to allot time for emotional coping, processing, time with the Lord. That's why it's amazing to me, Pastor Sunday is still taking those retreats. You'd think you would graduate from
Yeah,
those retreats,
he never
but it's
does.
like he knows his source. He knows the secret.
So have all these lessons that you learned, have they impacted you personally and helped you to also tailor your own life in a similar fashion as his? Or have you come up with your own methods of doing things?
I sometimes think that I'm living a life that Pastor Sunday was the architect of.
Wow, that's profound.
And I always have to like give these with a precursor of Jesus is my Lord, and of
Yeah, so
course
people
it's
don't think you're replacing him with God or
yeah,
something.
they think it's idolatry or something. But what
Hmm.
I mean is, as much as any earthly teacher or father could give you the stuff and the wiring and draw up a blueprint for you, I think if I can give any accolades to myself, if any, it was that I've tried to follow the blueprint to the detail. So I feel like a little bit like I'm living in a world that Pastor Sunday uh, drew up a blueprint for. Even like the other night, I was speaking in Taiwan on national transformation for 7 hours. So just
Wow.
7 hours straight, one lunch break and two 10-minute breaks. But the rest was, it was a full 7 hours of teaching.
Wow.
And the stuff that's coming out, or, just I have moments like that, and there's leaders from all Asian nations there. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know, wow, I never thought I would be here. Like, what happened? How did this happen? And I can always go back to times with Pastor Sunday and what I've learned from him. And I absolutely, on a daily basis, am living out the things that he has taught me, what I saw in his life. But more than that, on a deeper level, because eventually when you're living your own life, you run into situations you didn't see him model, right?
Yep.
Because you're living your own life, you're in your own country, your own context. You have to give answers and function in ministry in a way that maybe he never told you something about. But he opened a door and he taught concepts. And if I follow this hallway, like life is predictable, his understanding of if you live according to laws and principles, the outcomes can be predicted. That's a concept. And I carry that with me into every situation. Or routine, building routines. I'm dealing with that every day. When I'm at high performance, got multi projects going on, all kinds of stuff. I'm reworking my routines. I'm adjusting this, adjusting. I know where I saw that. I know that's a concept. He opened a door to system building. He opened a door and he let me walk into that room and learn how to approach life. That's fathering. A teacher will teach you something and you'll walk away with knowledge. You might walk away with understanding, but fathering is he will be a ladder that you climb up. He will have been a doormat that he laid himself down for you to. He will have opened the door to that big mansion for you to walk in and explore like a child. And
Wow.
he will give you things to take and go and live your life. Go, son, and live your life. I'm not controlling you. I'm not needy. I'm not codependent leader. Go run as hard and fast as you possibly can. And you're equipped with these concepts that help you to handle almost every situation. Halabashanta.
Amazing. Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're enjoying yourselves as much as I am. This is Pastor Derek all the way from Canada. I didn't ask you from the beginning, how many years ago was it that you met Dr. Sunday?
It had to have been 15, like you said.
Yeah,
It's
15 years ago.
something like 15.
Yeah, so he has known Dr. Sunday for 15 years, and all of the experiences he's sharing with you came over a period of time where he came here. I don't know, Pastor Derek, how many times have you come to Ukraine?
Oh,
Can you
over
count?
15 times.
Over
Over
15.
15 times,
Oh,
easily.
wow.
My passport, they stopped me in Russia. I got in trouble in Moscow when I landed there because
Wow.
they asked they take my passport into another room, they're holding me there, they come back, they say, why did you go to Ukraine so many times? And then God forbid I mentioned Pastor Sunday's name. Oh, I
Oh,
was
that would
sitting
have
there
been
for
bad news for you.
hours.
The KGB would have locked you up somewhere and questioned you for weeks.
I was sitting there for hours.
Wow. Incredible. So, guys, hope you're learning a lot from what we're hearing. Pastor Derek has been here for over 15 times. He's gone through several trainings, and he's now giving us, the backstory to some of the things that he has accomplished and some of the things that Dr. Sunday has accomplished that we all celebrate, we all see, and we're beneficiaries of. And I believe that as we keep talking, please make sure you share this link and you take notes, and you also try to understand and see how you can apply some of these principles to your own life so that you can have the same results on your own level as Dr. Sunday does. Because at the end of the day, like you've heard, he wants to build people. He wants to model, the life of God as much as he can so that he will help others interpret and understand God better. And he's not just doing these things for his own ego. He lays his life down. He gives as much as he can, also that we can be the best that that God wants us to be. So please take advantage of all that you're hearing from Pastor Derek. These are nuggets that you might not hear anywhere else, and you might not hear them in this fashion. Take full advantage of them so that you can be who God wants you to be. All right, back to you, Pastor Derek. You talked about solitude, and you talked about the fact that he lays his life down and things like that. Please tell us other unique things that you've seen him do as a leader that has helped your own leadership position, because you lead the History Makers Academy over there in Canada. So talk to us. Let's start from leadership. Talk to us about some of the unique things you have seen he has modeled and he has helped you realize that has helped your leadership style and has made you effective over there in North America and everywhere else you've been.
Oh, I have so many stories like that. And we've really touched on the relatability factor and all of that. Just jumping off that a bit, I would say his unbelievable relational capacity. There really are three economies that God uses to advance the kingdom on earth. One of them is prayer. One of them is finances. Another is relationships. And his ability to leverage relationships with sincerity, his classiness, you enjoy being around him. He gives, whatever he does 100%. If he's laughing with you, you will have never heard a laugh at 100% until that moment. If he's correcting you, which I thank God I was able to avoid some of from living at a distance. There was only so deep I could go into those waters, but when he's correcting you, it's 100%. When he wants to work on you. See, I really believe that his approach is not just setting an example. Most leaders are building their ministries and they want you to take them as an example. He's building you. He's interested in building you. And in building something, you've got to shape and sand and cut and slice. And, he was able to at times identify. He can notice something in your life, a crack in the fabric or the stone of your life. And you don't know that crack on the inside is huge. I mean, it's throughout your life. Like he would say to me, you're sitting here in the meeting, Derek, but you're not actually present. You're not in the here and now, he would say. Because I'd be on my iPad and I'm thinking I'm multitasking. And he would point that out and he would say, and this is how you are at home times 100. And he was absolutely right. And so they're just things that you don't notice, that he notices. And if you give him permission, or he really believes in you, he will touch those areas of your life with just a fierceness that you either decide to take it and to change, or you have to depart. I mean, that's the reality. So that kind of a thing. Another one that he's really fantastic at is because he's building you, he believes in you. He can delegate authority. He has a fantastic ability of entrusting you that you're not going to sink the ship you've been put in charge of. And he knows how to release you in a way that the grace of God comes on you to be somebody you didn't think you could ever be. To become the person. He has an ability to identify your best and to put you in situations to bring out your best. This is real leadership. This is part of building people and releasing you that way. Another thing that I've noticed, and I've said this a lot all over the world now, because when you deal with type A personalities, when you deal with leaders building something, apostles, pastors especially, the control. I mean, you might not think it's as bad as it is, but trust me, you go to some churches around, it's just everywhere, the control.
Wow.
And the control, they don't know actually is keeping that thing from growing. And Pastor Sunday, what I just loved and was so phenomenal about him is his ability to hold on to the things of the kingdom loosely. And whatever you hold on to loosely for the sake of the kingdom will grow in your hands. And so he was able to do that. And I think that might have had something to do with his initial stages in ministry when God entrusted him with starting a church and then God told him to give it up. So he did. He poured everything into church number 2. God told him to give it up. Poured everything into, and he said, okay, I'm not doing it. I'm not building any more churches. You keep telling me to let go. And on that one that he let go of, it was after that God trusted him with the largest church in Europe and the movement that was born. And so, he just has a way of letting you run without stress and without control. And I think that has been a phenomenal factor in how he has released people into their destinies, and the ministry has expanded the way it has,
Incredible. Wow. I hope you guys are learning as much as I am, because these things are important nuggets that would help us as leaders and that would help us to be able to help people become the best that they can be. Because many leaders claim to be interested in helping people, interested in creating, real change in the world, but many of them don't understand how to go about it. But we can see that Dr. Sunday is modeling that for us. Pastor Derek has explained how he has done some of it. And many of things that he's talking about can be found in books, in messages. It takes, a while for you to be able to understand them. But these nuggets will at least point you in the right direction to make you know that these things are possible and these things can be accomplished if only you put your mind to it. All right, let's go to Pastor Sunday, the husband. Now, you're a married man and you just became a father before we get to that of fatherhood. So talk to us about at least a couple of things that you've learned from him as a husband that has helped you to be able to model your own relationship in that way that has made it a success as well.
Oh, he's just wonderful in this way. I always say that Pastor Sunday's behind the scenes glory is greater than his public
what
glory.
Is seen in public.
Yeah. And that's what you have to offer to the critics sometimes is sometimes you just think, look, you do not know enough to cast judgment. You just don't. You just don't know enough to. It's a lesson for all of us, And okay, all of this began for me in the hotel room in London. I've told this story before, but I'll just touch it quickly. But there I am following him in the UK as he's building something, planting something, and we're all gathered in his hotel room at like midnight, his hotel suite, and there's some pretty important people there waiting to talk to him. And his wife phoned, Pastor Bose phones, or he phoned her or something, and I can hear him talking with her, and it's like at length, where I would have been like, I've got people in the important people in the Can I call you tomorrow? And he's sitting there talking, and it's stuff that's like, forgive me, but it's stuff that's so far beneath his current agenda on that trip. So I remember it because it so hit me. He said to Pastor Bose, he's asking about the kids, and he's saying about some event or some service, he's saying, yeah, give a presence, walk through. And then he's directing her in pastoral responsibilities. And the conversation was not with someone who's distracted or busy. It was full on sitting there. And one by one, these leaders got up and were leaving.
They kind of got the message that it was time for him to do something else, which was focus on family and his wife.
Yeah, like but trust me, if you knew the dynamic of this, like what they had come for and how long they had waited or something, and and I think too sometimes he could read people's ulterior motives or what was of that higher. Let's say this: what was of higher value, kingdom value. And so that night, everybody left. I was always the last to leave. I would stay until my head was. And I stayed to the very end, just asked, do you need anything? And he had gotten off the phone. The next morning, I came to get him. And I was sitting in the hotel suite. And I said, Pastor, I think I figured you out. I said, you build your life on laws and principles. And last night was your principle of marriage. And this was wife time. And you don't break your principles for anybody. That. And he laughed out loud. He roared with laughter because it was true. I had tapped into something, and he explained that to me. So based on that, I watched how he behaved in marriage. And I watched how he would stop everything to go and greet Pastor Bo, say, flowers, or is that her going by? And he would rush out. It was like somebody who was dating. It was somebody who was pursuing a woman who they were enthralled with. And anybody who's been married knows that the feelings come and go. Love can even come and go. That's just a reality. But he had the ability of sustaining it. But, when you look at Revelation where it says, but I have this against you to the church, you've lost your first love. The antidote and the answer that is given is return and do the things you did at first. And in the Greek, it's first deeds or first works. It's the dating relationship. Pastor Sunday has been able to maintain the dating choreography and the dating process based on principle. Wow. This takes incredible discipline. Incredible discipline. And even I've watched at how much effort and investment he puts into marriage and family. And I've even asked, why? Like, you can get away with,
we're not doing this much.
Yeah, like you can get away with being the man of God and your family lives without you a bit. And he does not believe in that. And I don't believe in that either now, but he does not believe in that. He said to me when I got married, now you have another ministry and how to behave. And a lot of the things that he taught and teaches, I've now been able to apply in my relationship with Sarah. And it is so rewarding, so real, so true what he said, the things that he taught. I just wondered where he learned it. I really wondered how he knew all that stuff that now I'm applying that is bearing a result. So, he is somebody that has invested. He understands a woman. So he's invested so much in Pastor Bose. And when I say invested, I don't mean sit you down and teach you and instruct you in something. I mean his investment of time spent, love, compassion, all the stuff that he gives to his wife. She now is pouring upon him probably all the time. They are living that dance of reciprocation so that when the storms come, which they will come, I laughed so much when he said that time, Derek, if you've seen anybody who's been married 20 plus years, someone has endured. And, wow. When the storms come, I know he's reaping from what he has sown in his family's life all those years. So yeah, it's one thing to see a model marriage or a model relationship when things are
rosy,
not so bad. Yeah. Some couples, they just don't have it so bad, but to watch what they have endured, that family, just the persecution alone and the stuff that's been done to them, just to watch that, for them to be as healthy as they are today is nothing short of a miracle. And but it's not a miracle. There is carefully choreographed engineering based on principles that has made that marriage last to what it is today.
Incredible. Guys, those of you who are married, hope you're learning. Those of you who are yet to get married, hope you're preparing yourselves. with some of this understandings and these principles, you can get more of marriage, women, and the dynamic that exists and how to make sure that your relationships are successful on YouTube. There's an entire series dedicated to understanding women, understanding men, understanding the dynamic between men and women, understanding how to take care of your wife, or your husband, what have you. So please make use of these resources so that you can also be the best you can be in your relationship. All right, let's go towards the next phase, which is fatherhood. What have you learned? Because you just became a father a couple of months ago, so I can imagine that you're full of knowledge and experience from Dr. Sunday when it comes to raising kids. Because one of the things Dr. Sunday has taught us is life is predictable, and the best way to predict life is by making sure you're prepared. You don't just stumble into something. You make sure you're intentional as you go into it. And I'm sure that's something that you do as well. So tell us of some of the fatherhood lessons that you've learned from Dr. Sunday.
Well, our beautiful baby Shiloh Grace is almost 2 months old. So, if you ask him, what do you do with a child that's that age? What are the principles? What's the routines? He said to me, just give them lots of love at that age. But let me tell you, when I lived there, and I've seen it over the years, where each night he'd be in the middle of meetings or busy with something, he would stop, and his children would come to him. They were very young at the time, and they would have had to research a certain value of forgiveness or integrity or something, and he would have them share what they learned. This all would be about a half hour or so, and they each at their level would share what they learned according to their capacity at that age. And then he would lay hands on them. And Lord, impart, grow them in integrity in the name of Jesus, or pray for them in some way to walk that out or challenge them. And he was doing this nightly, which was strange to me, because I thought usually you do that here and there or when you remember, but whenever something is a value or a principle, he will put it into a system so that it's happening all the time. And so he really was building his children. He'll say, you don't simply raise children, you build children. And so I watched him doing that. One time that I can remember very clearly, that I still hold on to today, was when we were all in his car. We were coming from the service, and I had been away from home for so long. I don't know how he knew that I wanted some American food. I'd had enough borscht, as good as the food was in Ukraine. I love Ukrainian food, and he said, maybe Pastor Derek would like to stop by McDonald's. And so we all go through this drive-through, and it's this big spectacle. The people are looking at the drive-through window. Wow, it's Pastor Sunday. And we ordered this food, we're eating. And as we're driving, I noticed how he would try to mete out equal time for everyone in the car. And I might be having some deep conversation with him about national transformation. He'd give a bit of time there, then he would shift gears over to Pearl, who was young at the time, or Zoe, and he would ask about her French fries. Are you able to eat them all? What do you like about, he was engaging this 8-year-old or whatever age in a way that she came alive in the car about French fries. For me, what was important was the 7 pillars of transformation. For her at that age, at her level, was about French fries. And then he would shift over to, even the assistant was being talked to, and he had a way, and I thought, it must be exhausting to be able to give out so much with such care. And I saw how he would always be, a presence with his children. And so just the other day, having only been a father almost 2 months, I was so busy with multiple conferences on one weekend. And I now take note when I've broken routine. So I didn't hold her today. This is on a very small level. I have great challenges ahead of me, I'm sure. But I didn't hold her today.
Okay.
I didn't take her so that Sarah can go and do X, Y, Z. Or I didn't, allot time for, and I'll stop, I'll pause. take her in my arms and give that whatever attention you can give to a 2-month-old. I'm giving that with that in mind, to take your time with the people you love and invest in them at their level. Even though sitting there with the swing and this nursery rhyme music, and I've got an app coming out, I've got books on the go, I'm thinking about what I could be doing right now. But this little person I've been put in charge of, this is another ministry now. And you have to allot your time the way Pastor Sunday showed me to do it.
Incredible. Talk to us about the spiritual fatherhood aspect of things. This is the biological aspect. So I hope people are listening and learning that the time with your kid is not less important than the time with your wife, and it's not less important than your ministry. All of these things need their own times, and they need the whole of you. Some people leave the residual times for their partners. They give their work their best energy, and then they give a little to their kids, and then a little to the wife, and before you know it, everything is falling apart, and all they have is just the job. But DSA makes sure that, everything gets time, and everything, is running in concert, and nothing is being left behind. So talk to us about some principles, or a couple of principles you've learned from the spiritual father standpoint. Because since you run an academy, you've got spiritual kids, and I'm sure they're benefiting from the knowledge that you've learned and the experience and all of the impartation you've gotten from Dr. Sunday. So please share with us some of those nuggets, because I'm sure a lot of people listening would aspire to become spiritual fathers or spiritual parents one day, or some of them are already spiritual parents and would need some of that knowledge you've got.
The 3 factors of success are really crucial: knowledge, environment, character. And I feel that Pastor Sunday does an extraordinary job of facilitating opportunity to grow in those. A lot of men and women of God, the big guys, as we would say, they're not teaching you what they really know. They're teaching you only what will somehow indirectly benefit them a lot of the time. Or they don't, they're that smart. These guys don't get to where they are without being smart.
Wow.
And
so they're not giving away any trade secrets. They're just giving you stuff that they think they can benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're creating environment that indirectly comes back to benefit them. Wow. Like, have you ever been in a service where the environment shifted to the offering time, and you just feel, this, there's something else going on here. And things like, the real financial principles that they live by are not being taught. And it is a form of spiritual abuse to neglect the stuff that these people need to succeed in the name of benefiting self is the ultimate cruelty, the ultimate cruelty. So on one hand, you have like where Pastor Sunday will teach you what you need to know. He wants to give away the stuff. He wants you to succeed. So just by merit of him wanting you, whether you're a blood son or daughter or not, he wants you to succeed. So he's teaching you the secrets behind success. He's going on YouTube. I'm like, why don't you package this and sell it? And he's going on YouTube and he's giving it away, wanting people to succeed, wanting people to prosper. And whereas a lot of these guys are not doing that. On the other hand, he has a great ability to read where you're at, to give you what you need at the stage you're at. And my initial frustration early in ministry was when I was pastoring, I knew what these people really need, and I was bombarding them with long messages, huge topics. Like on a Sunday morning, I'm teaching on like system building or something. And the people weren't responding properly. And I remember saying to him, like, you know all this stuff, and I know they need to know this. And I'd get up, but they're not responding to these grandiose, heavy, weighty messages in Canada. And he said, Derek, people don't go, this is the exact words, people don't go to church on Sunday to listen to a complicated man. It's just the way he worded it. You have to read where people are at. You have to gauge where they're at. And he has a process, a system of gauging where the people are at. And he gives them what they need. He's not trying to show off. He's giving you what you need. And then you find out later, wow, he knows all this, but he didn't dump it on my head. You know, so that would be one of those things, is he's teaching you the things that you need. The other is he understands the power of environment. So he creates opportunity for you to get in the environment, to pay the price for that and let environment shape you. So he made the shift where most people would have stayed in Sunday morning service. That's the crowd. That's where everything looks great. The band is playing and you come out on stage and you're the apostle. You're the man of God has arrived with the motorcade. You know, the stuff I'm seeing in Nigeria now, the motorcades and all this stuff. He absolutely died to all of that and shifted into a retreat mode, gathering 50 people, 100 people, and working on them. 2 days, 3 days, environment factor, pouring into them, putting things into them for them to be able to succeed. So he likes to create an environment that will bring the best out of you and challenge you that way.
Wow. Those who want to learn his process of gauging where people are, how do you think they can learn that?
Well, you'd have to get close enough you'd have to ask him that question. You can say, Pastor Derek referred me to you, and said, because I don't remember the exact, I don't want to butcher it here. But he has a way of, and I've had to use that over the years where I knew some people maybe were in the service or in the conference, and I wanted to show what I knew. The moment I do that, I'm leading from an egocentric place. Rather than, and I could hear Pastor Sunday in my head, rather than where are these people really at? Are you going to preach for these few dignitaries or important people, or are you going to care about this crowd and come down to maybe even one principle? Like the light and the lampstand, you know, and he had a way of describing how the candlestick exists to platform the light, not the light to platform and he's, you know, I watched how people's minds opened up and they got it, they understood. He wants you to get it. He wants you to succeed.
So it's not about what he knows, but he tries his best to communicate it to you as you need it.
Yeah, and he's feeding you according to where that's a father. He's a master chef. He serves up what you need course after course. You know, that's just somebody who cares about your development rather than the honorarium or the speaking engagement or the next thing. Again, there's such a vast difference between his approach to ministry and what having traveled a bit now, Joshua, what 97% of ministers, how they behave, even the big guys. So when you see these shocking situations, and I'm sorry to name names here, I don't really do that, but when you when you see Kenneth Copeland make a mistake because he's tired and says something like, I need a private jet because I don't want to fly in a tube full of demons.
Wow.
When he said that, and that went all over the news, and unsaved people just hated him for that. I mean, it took the charismatic, the evangelical movement back
several years.
Yeah, when he says that, that's a slip up of how he most likely views people. That's his view of ministry, is get me away from everybody.
Wow.
And there's a level of superiority I need to cultivate to be able to come down to you. And, you know, that whole thing, or when you see them yelling and screaming at somebody, or the way people are treated around them. And I know DSA, and we've been dealing with this in Africa, in Nigeria. When you see that superiority complex, that's just the tip of an egocentric iceberg that is so vile, that is so the opposite of the Lord Jesus. And Pastor Sunday is so different than that. So to answer your question, it's just his approach in everything with ministry comes from a place of building you and serving you. Whereas this other stuff I'm seeing now with social media, I don't mean to take it there, but now with social media, what we're seeing in Nigeria, in Africa, some of the stuff is, and they don't know how North Americans, how first world nations view that. If they knew, they would maybe dial it down. But in their world, in their context, they're as Pastor Sunday says, a local champion. They're a local champion with horse and carriage and motorcade and way too many bodyguards. And, you know, they're just so in their own egocentric iceberg. They have no idea how that looks to developed people and developed worlds. And that's why Pastor Sunday, one of the greatest things he could bring and convey, which it's too bad you can't do it by YouTube so well. But if they could get in his environment, if they could get in his orbit, if you could get him to their environment and their orbit, to bring that spirit of serving and building people, Nigeria would be built.
Wow. Amazing. I hope people can hear what you're saying and understand it, because like you said, these are things that you might not see on YouTube, because many people just watch snippets you get. And because of the way Pastor Sunday comes across, they might think, oh, this is just who he is. But you are giving them the behind the scenes view so that they understand where he's coming from, that it's about the people. It's not about position. It's not about ego. It's not about money. It's just about the fact that he wants to see people be built. He wants to see people fulfill their potential. And that passion comes across, and sometimes people might feel, oh, he's talking bad about my pastor, or he's talking bad about somebody who I care about. But it's not really about them. It's mainly about you and wanting to see you become the best that you can be.
Yeah,
I hope people see that.
And people don't ask me this in interviews in North America because they're not so aware. But, you know, from this, watching it from afar, and just when you're a global citizen, you notice some things. If those guys only knew how it appears for any thinking person, it is clearly leadership rooted in such deep-seated insecurity.
Wow.
It's leadership from a platform of such See, they don't ask me this, so I don't get to talk about it, but just for a moment here on Pastor Sunday's birthday, it's leadership from such deep-seated insecurity and even self-hatred.
Wow.
That you enslave your congregations. You enslave people. At the root of it, psychologically, it is such deep-seated insecurity and self-loathing. You must put all your efforts into building an empire on the backs of others just for you to get a breath of, I love myself for a moment.
So it's not coming from a place of love.
No. It's the opposite of the leadership of Jesus. It's the total opposite. And where this came from, this is why I'm touching on it with some level of authority, is it was exported from North America. It was the extreme prosperity, you know, I want to be blessed. All that stuff was exported from America to Africa, where it was, you were only as great as your suit looked. That was it. Like, I watched that pastor, like we do this in America, but I watched it, one of those pastors in Africa, I won't say where or what his name was, but as he went into that clothing store and the amounts of money he spent on suits alone, like we got this documentary, it was filmed, and people in America were laughing at him because he spent, like, it was something like US dollars, it was something like $20,000 or $30,000 in one trip. And he had all the, just in the suits. And he's going by in the car and there's poverty. Abject poverty all around him.
Left, right, and center.
Yeah, and then gets up on the stage and it's his moment. Okay, wow. That's your reward. You remember what Jesus said? that essentially what Jesus was saying was, to save time, what you do in public to be recognized publicly is your reward. So you got a suit. Good for you.
Wow.
You got a beautiful suit. Jesus is saying, that's your reward. You had a great service. You look like the big, okay, that's your reward. Rather than the eternal reward of doing the things that are important to the heart of God. This is really what Pastor Sunday is explaining on YouTube with some of these guys. And they just don't know how they look to the
They
rest
don't
of them.
get it, they just don't get it. But I hope we that are watching and those who are listening would be able to have a little more insight into why he's the way he is and apply some of these things to yourself, especially
Yeah.
young
And
people, so that you can chart a new course for yourself forward and not copy these same erroneous ways that we're talking about. Because a lot of people look up to these guys, and then they become just like them instead of learning from people who are doing things differently and who are trying to model for them the Jesus way of leadership and fatherhood.
and just lastly on that, Joshua, the difference between a local champion and a global citizen or somebody that God can use in any situation. One of the greatest successes of Pastor Sunday is he can go anywhere, be anywhere, and bring the kingdom to bring transformation. Whereas some of these guys, they're so locked into local champion mode, they're not even self-aware anymore. They have not been able to, though they have a global TV ministry or whatever, Pastor Sunday has been able to transcend culture in Nigeria. That's why I think God picked him. He is not limited to culture at all. He has transcended culture and can meet you whatever color you are. I'm living proof of that. That the principles of the kingdom work in anybody's life and in any nation. But you have to go beyond local champion. You have to go beyond Nigerian champion.
Amazing. I hope you guys are getting challenged to grow beyond being a local champion, because you might not, today you might think that you're just somewhere and you have to just be all that place wants you to be, but think bigger. See the world the world every day is becoming more connected and we're becoming global citizens. So see yourself beyond where you are. Whatever thing is not transmittable as a principle to every walk of life in any part of the world, then something is faulty with that thing and it needs to be adjusted and it needs to be tweaked. And you can do that by making sure that you study DS's life for yourself, learn, and make sure you're taking notes so that you can go back to these things, meditate on them, research on them, and use them as additions to your life so that you can become a more effective person. All right, so next up, talk to us about what you've learned about being an author from Dr. Sunday, because he's an author of, I think his books are over 400 now. And you've got your own books as well. So talk to us about Dr. Sunday, the author, and what you've learned from him, because I understand you've been in meetings where he wrote books, you've seen him edit books, you've seen him turn just simple topics into books. So please tell us about how that has influenced you.
I have just such memories of that. Pastor Sunday uses systems to pump out all these books. And I was there in the early stages of this where he was dictating articles. And we would be up 3, 4 in the morning doing these articles. And I remember one time I was so thankful to go to bed at 4:30. And I said, this is going to be my morning to sleep in. I'll catch up on what I missed. And that morning at, 6 or 7 a.m., there's a knock at the door and Pastor Sunday is calling for us to go again. and there was just this perpetual machine that was at work. Behind every great success are great secrets, but you can also word it, behind every great success is great engineering. And I watched as this machine was at work. Multiple editors in a room at once, sometimes different books being edited. For me, I never imagined I would be the author of now, 5 books? 5 books already. And I don't have a set goal of how many, but I was able to learn that it is possible. Everyone should become an author. There are systems and ways to do it. In fact, on my YouTube channel right now, I touch on that a bit. And I began to apply some things with one of my books. I had somebody take my sermons all on that topic and craft them into book style, and then I do the editing and all that. So I began to understand that there are ways of doing things. You don't have to be the big famous guy to do it that way. You just need the right people around you who want to help make the vision possible. And but I still enjoy, and what I do regularly is I sit down, I have a book in mind, I have a title, and I go through the process of summarize the book in one sentence, chapters, in details that will go into each chapter, and you learn that there's a strategy to building things. So when you see that many books being pumped out of one man, there's a method behind the great madness.
Amazing.
So,
Or go ahead.
Pastor Sunday, the author. See, keep in mind, I don't know how many people have seen this, but he sat down with me when we were hanging out, and he opened up the iPad and showed me hundreds and hundreds of messages. He's never even preached yet. And he'll have I won't say too much, but hundreds of messages and some stuff on them. And there's just so much he has to give. I imagine he would lose sleep at night from the stress of how can I get all this content out to the world.
Yeah, incredible.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, you can lock him up. See, people are complaining about this COVID thing, especially in our country. And it's like, you're upset that you're locked up for a while. Man, this is gold time. If you know how to make use of environment, if you know the power of solitude, if you know how to choreograph things and strategize things, this is your time to pump out that book that you always wanted to write, rather than making noise about COVID-19 and all this stuff.
Yeah, you can use it as an incubator to get things done and to get things into yourself that were not there before because you just didn't have the time. Every day there were activities pulling you left, right, and center. But now that you get to stand still, not many people knew how to handle it. But some other people like DSA and like people like us who he has taught, we understood that this was an opportunity to do things differently and, you know, use it to rejig yourself, improve yourself, so that when you go back out there into the world, you're a new person, a more effective person, and you're able to get more results.
Yeah, he knows how to leverage the environment factor. So whether it's at home, and I would see him make those shifts. So when there was first attack on him through the King's Capital thing and he wasn't allowed to leave the country, he said, okay, I'm just going to go to all of our churches and strengthen them. So he shifts gears into how can I create an opportunity out of this crisis? Or now he's at home and he's going to court. Okay, I'm going to use this time to pump out 500 or 1,000 books or something. And so that's an example of the doorway that he opens. Where he helps you to change your thinking. So what would have been trouble for me with COVID was now golden opportunity. And we shifted our entire ministry online. I'm holding History Makers trainings now all over the world. Wow. From my home, literally all over the world, from my home. And I'm making a living from this. God is providing, and I'm getting books done and creating things. And so crisis really is an opportunity. The ability to see the opportunity amidst crisis is the expertise of Pastor Sunday. Speciality. Yeah.
So it's possible to see opportunities in crisis. And I hope those who are listening are beginning to realize that not everything you call a crisis is actually a crisis in the general sense. It's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, there is opportunity in crisis. Not even there might be. There actually are diamonds of opportunity within crisis, but you have to have the right. Again, you're dealing with mentality. The mentality of greatness finds the opportunity within the crisis, builds it, packages it, changes the world with it, right from prison. A third of the New Testament written by an apostle Paul, who was on house arrest. And we're enjoying that today because of what he did on house arrest. And so when you're watching Pastor Sunday, you're tempted to assume by his environment or his season that you know what's going on. God might be trying to put him through something to get something out of him that wouldn't have been able to get. I mean, even Joseph went to actual prison. Joseph went to actual prison for something he didn't do. That shows you how much God wants to take some of us into solitude.
True. Yeah, so many people are running away from solitude. Meanwhile, that's what God wants for them so that they can just have some time alone with him and become more of who he wants them to be, because there are too many distractions in the world today. And solitude is something that is very important. And you mentioned that when we're starting, that those are one of the things that you learned from Dr. Sunday. All right. So I believe that you've given us enough nuggets for one sitting. So please give us your final message to Dr. Sunday as he turns 54. And you met him, you met him 50 years ago. That means he was about 40 at the time when you met him. And I believe he has changed a lot within that time. So give us, a very warm message for our leader, pastor, spiritual father, mentor, Dr. Sunday at 54.
Pastor Sunday, do you see these bags under my eyes today? This is not because I have a 2-month-old in the house. I am trying my best to run as hard and fast as I can with everything you gave to me. And every year that we celebrate your birthday is just another opportunity that the world has to have you here. Because we all know your reward, your highest goal is to be with Jesus. But you're here with us on earth another year. And so from my heart to yours, and on behalf of Sarah and now baby Shiloh Grace Schneider, we just want to say such a big happy 54. It's hard to believe. 54th birthday. And I know that the best is yet to come. This is the preparation. I've seen it already, as you know. I already saw it before you told me anything. I had already seen it. God allowed me to see it. Your best years are ahead. And I want to offer this to you on your birthday. The power of the slingshot, when the stone is taken and is put into the sling and is drawn back. It's going to be going that way, but it's pulled back. And the farther back you pull that stone means the propulsion factor will be faster and it will go further. And so the pulling back has all kinds of pressure. And you're going this way when you're supposed to be going that way. And the pressure is increasing. The pressure is increasing. The pressure is increasing. And one day, that hand that holds the stone, that is your life, simply lets go and releases. And that stone is thrown farther than you could have ever built a system to create, than anyone else could have ever done. The hand of God releases you with a speed and dimension that is otherworldly. And when that stone lands in the continent of Africa, you will come in with an explosion, and the waves will touch the continent of Africa. And we will truly say, as what the Lord had shown me, imagine the days when Africa leads the world. Happy birthday, Pastor Sunday. God bless you.
Wow, what an amazing message. Thank you very much, Pastor Derek. I believe that Dr. Sunday will be getting back to you. And he's very astute at making sure that he pays attention to everything you say, to every message that he's gotten. You said that 15 years ago, he wrote you back. So you can be sure that he's going to be getting back to you. And I believe that what you've said is the truth, and we would be alive to see all of those things come to fruition by God's grace. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for taking time off from your wife and your 2-month-old baby. And say hi
now
to all
I'll
of
go
them
take
for
her
us.
and hold her.
I'm sure it's a new experience for you that you're enjoying. So we look forward to having you here with us sometime in the future. you and your
Yeah.
family, if you guys would come
Yes.
around. I'm sure Dr. Sunday would like to have that. So, guys, hope you've enjoyed
We'll be
yourself. Thank
there.
you very much, Pastor Derek. Bye for now. All right, guys, that was Pastor Derek Schneider all the way from Canada. And he has shared with us his experience with Dr. Sunday. He has given Dr. Sunday his 54th birthday message. You can also send yours in. Don't forget, you can all just email it to moveagents@gmail.com. You can send letters, you can send videos, you can send whatever, cards, whatever gifts that you think is fitting for Dr. Sunday as he turns 54. Please send them in, and I'm sure he'll be happy to have them. Now, many of the things that Pastor Derek said, you can find on YouTube. You can find them through Dr. Sunday's books. You can go to Amazon.com wherever you are in the world. If you've got access to Amazon, I'm sure you'll be able to get the books on raising a family, being a leader, being a pastor, being a husband, being a wife, and whatever thing you want, building your faith, building your prayer life. These are things that can be found on Amazon. For those of you who are in Africa, you can just go to dsabooksplanet.com, or you can go to bambooks.io, and you'll be able to find books that would help you to develop your character, develop your calling, develop yourself, so that you can be the best that God wants you to be, and you can make a difference in this world. So don't sit back and do nothing. Make use of all of these nuggets, make use of all these principles that are being shared, so that you can be a weapon for God in this world. All right, so the countdown is on. We've just got a day to go. Tomorrow we're going to be back here, same time. We're going to be premiering Dr. Sunday's movie. Somebody has made a movie for Dr. Sunday, so you want to be here tomorrow, same time, to watch it live. And then on Friday will be the celebration of DS's 54th birthday. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to having you with us for the next few days as we continue the celebration of DS's 54th birthday. All right. Thank you very much. Till we see you again tomorrow. Bye for now. Take care. Hi, Pastor. Thank you very much.
Look, someone is just writing me now. It's good that you're around.
What did they say?